If you're somebody who's struggling to eat their vegetables, then this recipe is for you. Today, we're making a roasted veggie sauce with sweet potato gnocchi. I'm gonna show you how to turn raw whole vegetables into an insanely flavorful but healthy pasta, and I'm gonna show you how to make sweet potato gnocchi from scratch as well. The 3 rules for this recipe are as followed. It has to get you to eat your veggies, because it's time for all of us to be a little healthier. It doesn't require any fancy cooking tools or for you to be an expert level chef. And it's gotta taste good, because you gotta like the food if you wanna eat it. So follow along and let's get to cooking. We'll first get to work on our sweet potato gnocchi, but before we can make them, we first gotta bake our sweet potatoes. I'll head on over to our oven and preheat it to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I'm gonna grab 2 sweet potatoes. Now with your trusty fork, I'm gonna stab the potatoes anywhere between 6 to 12 times. This is to prevent it from exploding by allowing steam to escape through those holes, but if you wanna live life on the edge, then just skip this step. After stabbing our potato, I'll next grab some aluminum foil and then lay down a sheet under our potato, giving it a little drizzle of olive oil before wrapping that sucker up nice and tight. Once you have 2 wrapped sweet potatoes, you'll next take them on over to your oven and then toss them in there to bake for 45 minutes. Now while our potatoes bake, let's get to work on our roasted veggie sauce, which I gotta say, not only is it easy to make, but it's the backbone to our dish as well. First, you're gonna grab a large sheet pan and 1 yellow bell pepper and then cut the cheeks off of it. Now you technically should not be cutting on a metal sheet tray, but we're only cutting one thing and I didn't want to dirty my cutting board, so just bear with me. Either way, we'll next grab 1 packet of mini tomatoes and just toss them right next to your bell pepper. From there, I'll throw in a little bit of broccoli as well as a healthy amount of baby carrots and 4 large cloves of garlic. Now with our trusty bottle of olive oil, I'm going to drizzle it in, giving it a light coating to all of our veggies. From here, it's ready to be tossed in our 450 degree oven along with our sweet potatoes, and we're going to check on them in 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, as you can see, they've started to roast up nicely. I'll pull out our toasted garlic because I don't want it to burn, and I'll check the rest of our veggies to see if they've softened. Our bell pepper and tomatoes are pretty soft, but our broccoli and carrots are still pretty firm and not soft at all. So I'm going to toss everything back in the oven for an additional 12 minutes. While our veggies continue to bake, I'm gonna quickly mince 2 teaspoons of fresh oregano. I'm just gonna run my knife through it a few times until I get a fine mince that looks something like this. Now 12 minutes have passed, so I'm gonna check on our veggies again, and as you can see, they're getting a little bit of blistering, and our broccoli and carrots have softened enough that I can easily poke them with a toothpick or a fork. From here, I'm going to scrape everything into a blender, including those garlic cloves I pulled out earlier, and don't throw away that beautiful fond. Instead, throw down a splash of water and then scrape it off with a spatula. I'm only trying to scrape the lighter fond and not too much of the burnt stuff, though it's okay if you scrape the burnt stuff in. I'll pour that delicious fond liquid into our blender along with 5 teaspoons of sugar, 3 teaspoons of salt, the juice of 1 lemon, 2 teaspoons of our minced oregano, and if you're trying to blend it right now, you'll notice it's not blending. Well, that's because I forgot half a cup of water. Now give it a blending, letting all those roasted veggies and herbs combine together. Once blended, the consistency should be something of like a puree, pretty thick, and it'll hold on to a spoon very easily. Taste-wise, I'll let my girlfriend tell you what she thinks of it.
Good soup.
Good soup? Now let's get back to our sweet potato gnocchi, which is the backbone to the texture of this meal. So don't skip out on this step and buy store-bought gnocchi. I'm gonna take our sweet potatoes out of the oven after baking them for 45 minutes, and they should be soft to the touch now. I'll stick a toothpick in it, and if I can easily pierce it with little to no resistance, then we're good. I'm gonna very carefully unwrap our sweet potatoes because they should be still very hot. With a knife, I'm gonna split our potato in half, and then with a spoon, I'll scoop the insides of our potato into a large bowl. I'll do the same thing with our other potato as well, leaving behind only the skin, and with that same spoon, I'm now gonna mash all of our sweet potatoes. You shouldn't need any fancy equipment here. They should be very soft to the point where you could easily mash them with a large spoon. Once they're mashed, we'll next throw in 2 teaspoons of salt and mix it in thoroughly. And now we need to wait for our bowl to fully cool down. But if you're impatient like me, all you gotta do is get a larger bowl with ice, lay your bowl on top of it, and then stir your potatoes until they come to room temp. This only took a couple minutes to cool down versus waiting the 10 to 15 minutes for it to cool down naturally. Once they're cooled, we'll crack in 1 large egg, mixing it thoroughly into our potatoes. Now, after mixing in our egg, we'll add in 1 cup of all-purpose flour, mixing it in with the spoon until the flour is mostly absorbed. From there, we'll toss in 1 more cup of all-purpose flour, but not all at once. Instead, we're gonna do it in 3 parts. Once the dough starts to get a little less sticky, I'll then use my hands to knead it all together, slowly pouring in the rest of our flour until we have a nice firm dough that looks like this. From here, I'm gonna move it onto my cutting board and then cut it into 4 segments, and I'm only gonna use 1 of these segments for today's recipe. The other 3 I'm gonna store in Ziploc bags in the fridge or freezer. I actually formed the rest of those dough balls into more gnocchi on another day. I plan on giving this to my family so they could give it a shot, and I even made some mini gnocchi as well so my baby nephew can try. But let me now show you how to form our ball into little pillows of gnocchi. I'll split this ball in half, rolling it into a smaller ball so it's easier to work with, and then I'll sprinkle in a little bit of dough over it. With my hands, I'll roll it into a rough tube shape, and then from there, I'll move it onto my cutting board, continuing to roll it out until I get my desired thickness. I'll next cut the tube down the middle, stacking both the pieces next to each other, and then I'll chop both tubes, giving me beautiful little gnocchi pillows. Now, I would err on the side of cutting smaller pieces of gnocchi because they will expand once we start to cook them later on. But that's pretty much it. If you want to give them that classic gnocchi shape, all you need to do is roll them over the tip of a fork like this, and that's it. I personally don't like doing this step because I find it to be very tedious, but if you're more patient than me, then give it a shot. Now I'm going to throw all of our gnocchi onto a sheet pan, mixing a little flour over them so they don't stick together, and now you have ready to cook sweet potato gnocchi. If you want to store them for a while, I would freeze them first and then store them into a Ziploc bag or a vacuum sealed bag like this. But now we have both our roasted veggie sauce and our sweet potato gnocchi ready to go. All that's left to do is the most important step, which is to bring this recipe together. I'll first grab a pot of boiling water, and then I'll give it a strong pinch of salt. Now don't drop your gnocchi with your hands, but instead use a spoon or a ladle and then gently pour your gnocchi into the boiling water for 2 to 3 minutes. Since this is homemade gnocchi, it's going to cook a lot faster than store-bought gnocchi. Make sure to stir to prevent the gnocchi from sticking together, and you'll know they're done once they start floating to the top. Once they're fully cooked, I'll then strain them out of the water into a small bowl, and please look at how beautiful they are. I'm going to set our pot to the side and then grab a hot pan set to medium-high heat. In that pan, I'll pour in 1 tablespoon of olive oil and 1 tablespoon of butter as well. The oil will prevent the butter from burning, and if you wanted to make this recipe fully vegan, then just cut out the butter. Once everything is melted and hot, you'll next pour in all of our gnocchi, letting it toast on one side for 2 to 4 minutes. After about 3 minutes for me, your gnocchi should have a nicely toasted bottom like this. You could toast the other side as well if you have more patience, but I don't, and I really don't think you need to. I'll next toss in 3 tablespoons of our roasted veggie sauce, as well as 1 tablespoon of our pasta water. Give it a mix, letting everything incorporate, fully covering each of our gnocchi, and now you're ready to plate this sucker. In a bowl, I'll pour all of our gnocchi along with the sauce right in the middle of it. I'll then sprinkle a little bit of chopped Italian Italian parsley for decor and lay down a few sage leaves as well, and that's actually it. You now have an amazing roasted veggie sauce as well as a sweet potato gnocchi that taste absolutely phenomenal. The fact that 90% of this meal is made up of veggies blows my mind. Flavor-wise, it tastes super creamy and cheesy even though there's no cheese in it. If you or anyone in your family have a hard time eating veggies, I highly encourage you to give this recipe a shot because they will be impressed by it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to click the link on the screen right now. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.